From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
Welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. This is your weekly podcast about consumption. It is just two of us this week, and with me this week is Sean, who is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. Sean, how are you doing today?
Perfect. Let me do that again. Perfect. Perfect like my steak, raw on one side, fried on the other. How about you, John? How are you doing?
Not that perfect. I'm doing all right. It's a Monday. I don't know what else to say. You know, I went to work. I came home. I'm awake. It's Monday.
That's a thing. It's a Monday.
It is a thing. So, you watch anything good this week? I know it's only been a couple days since we last chatted, or anything that we wanted to bring up that we didn't talk about 2 days ago?
A few days ago. Time warp for the people listening at home. I talked a few months ago, right around Super Bowl, about Roofball. Do you remember my discussion with you about Roofball?
I do. I still need to watch more Roofball. I enjoyed that. It was like a 10-minute intro video or something like that you'd sent.
Yes. Well, you'll be excited to hear that they just held the Roofball Motor City Championship in Livonia, Michigan this past weekend, and it's on YouTube for you to watch.
Where in Livonia? I grew up in, like, that was to say that I actually lived in for a long time. Where in Livonia was it?
I'm not really sure. They didn't put a map up. They didn't consult me, but it's somewhere in Livonia. It's interesting because they, obviously it's a different house. So they have a different pipe and they have to do different things. The pipe on this house, so anybody that's not familiar, Roofball is basically a game where you take a football and you try to either hit this pipe on a roof or you try to get it around the pipe, and those are different points, and you catch the ball off the roof and all this stuff. But the pipe is in this house in Livonia is so far back that I only watched about a half an hour of it. I have to watch the rest of it. It's like over 2 hours long, but they...
It's dedication.
From what I watched, only like 3 people were able to hit the pipe. So it's like super far back. It's so easy to throw it over the roof. And if you throw it over the roof, you lose points. So that was interesting, but I thought that was cool that they just did the Motor City one. We talked about this. You and I talked about it before off mic. We talked about Winning Time. I won't get into that, but I watched the newest episode of that. And then I think I have a new favorite TV show.
So before you get into that, I also have been marathoning through Winning Time. I'm now caught up all the way to season 2, episode 2. So the one that came out yesterday, I haven't watched yet, but I'm thoroughly hooked on that show. Like like most HBO shows, if you give them a chance, they're going to sink their claws into you and you're going to have to deal with some kind of dragon grip or something like that.
Dragon grip? Is that what you said?
Dragon claw, dragon grip. I don't know.
Okay. Hey.
Some bad kung fu algorithm or something. Algorithm is not the right word. I really like John C. Reilly in that show. I really like John C. Reilly, period. So that probably helps quite a bit. When this comes out in the audio form, not the live stream form, might have already heard our episode on Extra, and we talk about it a little bit on there. But I could see us doing an episode just on the first 2 seasons of Winning Time, because we both seem to be relatively invested in it at this point.
And I like that it's short. They're short seasons. It's an HBO show, so It's a short season. It's 8 to 10 episodes. I don't remember how many the first season was.
First one was 10.
That makes sense.
I don't know how many this is going to.
They're generally
it's
10.
Also going to be 10. Yeah.
But the other show that I'm watching that again is like my new favorite. It's on HBO, and this is the 3rd season. I've watched the first 2 seasons, but I've kind of just watched them. They're half-hour shows. It's How To with John Wilson. I think it comes on either before or after Winning Time. I think they come out on Sunday.
I've not even heard of that one.
Okay, so it's on HBO. It's produced by Nathan Fielder. So if you know who Nathan for You's Nathan Fielder, it's got that Nathan Fielder vibe to it. It's a little bit kind of off the wall, a little strange. But John Wilson's this nerdy guy. He lives in New York City. And the show starts off with a premise. Like the most recent episode I watched is called How to Work Out. And somewhere it starts off kind of going, he goes to a trainer and whatever. And then in the middle of the show, or soon after that, it's only a 23 or 25 minute show. Probably within the first 5 minutes of every show, it just goes off the rails. Like one of the trainers tells him, oh, you need to get some photos, or you need to get some pictures taken of your body so that you can see, when you get these gains, basically how your body is transformed, because you're not going to just remember it off the top of your head. So He takes this little diversion and he goes to a cat show, and there's this guy who's a photographer. He has all these cat portraits, and he's like, well, would you be willing to take my picture for this thing? I have to take my shirt off. I need this picture taken. And the guy decides to take the picture. And before he can email him the pictures after he's done touching them up or whatever he was going to do, the guy gets his camera gear stolen from the cat show. So John Wilson meets this woman who is a mystery writer, and she writes mystery books about cats. So he consults her to see if she can help him figure out what happened to this guy's camera. And she's like, well, somebody with a baby stroller could have come and, for cats, because that's something that happens at cat shows, could have stuffed all the guy's camera equipment in the bag. And he ends up getting this lady to take his picture, and she's kind of uncomfortable about it. But anyways, it eventually wraps up and kind of comes back to the original premise of the episode. But the show is all shot first person, so he carries a camera around with him constantly, either his phone or a camcorder, basically. And it's all in New York City, the surrounding areas. So you'll get a lot of candid footage of people kind of spliced into what he's narrating, because a lot of it's just him narrating the show. It's just all this weird stuff that happens out in public, all this candid stuff. It's all documentary style, really weird, but I find the show hilarious. I mean, I also find stuff like Tim and Eric or, Dr. Steve Brule. Check it out with Dr. Steve Brule. I find stuff like that hilarious too. So
Speaking of John C. Reilly.
Yeah, so maybe that's just me. One thing, John C. Reilly as Jerry Buss, that hair, magnificent.
Oh, his whole physique in that show is magnificent. He's an actor that you don't think of as a guy who puts on a lot of weight or loses a lot of weight for movies. But if you really look at his roles over the years, he definitely does. But he's carrying a 80s beer belly to perfection in this show. So
it might just be him though. It might just be his walking around.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, he is, like I said, he accentuates it with those, I mentioned it last week, those super low cut, button down shirt, not low cut. He just doesn't fucking button them because he's kind of a slob. But yeah, he's got the early 80s, late 70s look down, just chef's kiss. Perfect. It's almost like he might have lived it or something. So
he's inspired.
Yeah. I didn't watch a whole lot this week other than Winning Time, but what I was watching before we came on was a couple of some random guy, but he made 2 different videos, and they're basically called Steven Seagal is a piece of shit. And they're about 30-minute deep dives on why Steven Seagal is a horrible person.
Okay.
I'm only a quarter of the way through it. I had to finish watching our topic. So, because, that would probably be smart to watch the topic before we talk about it. But I guess I'm watching him in the wrong order. The second one just had a funnier title. So I was okay, well, Steven Seagal is a piece of shit. Let's see what this says. He is essentially just breaking down every element of this man's character. And I don't mean characters like his roles, the human being, Steven Seagal.
Yeah. His human character.
Yeah, just throwing all his shit all over the place. And it kind of intertwines with some of his roles too. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I don't know if it's going to be interesting enough to go back and watch the first one. But if it is, I'll send it to you because you might get a kick out of just hearing how he's a shitty human being, as if we couldn't guess that.
Yeah, I think I know a bit about it, but I'd watch it. Yeah, for sure.
It's total clickbait title. I totally admit that. I fell for it. And again, 15-20 minutes in, I'm like, well, I'm not uninterested yet, so that's a good thing. So
keeping my interest.
Yeah. Do you got anything else you want to? I know we don't have a ton to go into as far as other stuff. Do you have anything else you want to hit on before we get into the meat and potatoes, the uncooked meat and the vegetable bowl?
No, I have a lot to talk about, especially the director of the movie, so we can get into it if you'd like.
I'm all for it. So this week, we are talking about the movie Undefeatable, which I'm 90% sure is not a fucking word, but that's fine. This movie came out in 1993. It stars Cynthia Rothrock and a bunch of other fuckers, and is essentially, well, we'll get to that in a second. So we're supposed to read a review first.
We are,
aren't I? So our third-party review for the week, I like this one. I had a different one lined up, but this one is so random that I like it better. Anonymous, of course. That fucker. 1 star. And this person writes, so Troll 2 has an action movie equivalent. That's the whole review.
Yeah, appropriate.
Sean, tell me what this movie's about.
All right. Well, I'll read the IMDb storyline and the plot because they're very similar and they're each just a sentence. So the storyline or the plot, which one's which?
The plot. The sentence.
Yeah. The plot is Kristi Jones, Cynthia Rothrock, avenges her sister's death at the hands of a crazed, martial arts rapist. And the storyline, Kristi Jones, Cynthia Rothrock, avenges her sister's death at the hands of a crazed martial arts rapist. They're just slightly different. No, I think they're actually the same. It's just the way the line break is on the website that makes it look like it's a little different. I've got a longer synopsis that I've written, like a breakdown of the story. But I want to say
that's pretty much the story. We can end the show right now if you want.
True. So. No. You have to talk about this. So I've brought up the director's name, the director of this movie's name, a few times on episodes. And whenever I say the name, it means a lot to me, but it means nothing to anyone else that listens or has been on the show when I've mentioned the name. So the director of this movie is Godfrey Ho. And if you look at Godfrey Ho's credits, I guess, his directorial credit, he has 157 credits on his IMDb page. And let me read some of them from the last.
Doesn't he have a couple aliases as well?
He does. Yeah. So yes, I've read a lot about Godfrey Ho.
Looking at it right now, it half his director credits say as, and they have a different name. And I kind of find this one, Chi Chang Ho, is a good. I like that name.
Oh, that's a name. That's an alias that he goes by.
That's for this one, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
Well, the movie's got a different cut too.
Yeah, which I also like the other title more, but we'll get to that probably, maybe.
So let me read. These are going to be his titles from 1991 through 1979. And I won't read them all, but I'll read a few from each year. 91, Kickboxer the Champion. 1990, Lethal Panther. 1990, Ninja Empire. You'll find a common theme here. 1989, Full Metal Ninja. 1989, Zombie vs. Ninja. 1988, Rage of Ninja. 1988, Diamond Ninja Force. 1988, Robo Vampire. Then we have Ninja Death Squad, Ninja in Action, the Ninja Squad, Ninja the Protector, Ninja Dragon, Golden Ninja Warrior, Ninja Terminator, Ninja Champion, Ninja Thunderbolt, Revenge of the Drunken Master, Fist of the Golden Monkey, Leopard Fist Ninja, Rage of the Dragon, Snake Strikes Back. You can tell these are martial arts movies. What Godfrey Ho does, in one sense, is genius. And in the other sense, it's depraved and straight lunacy. So he will hire crews of actors, and an actor might span a couple different of these crews, but he will take them out and he will go on a location and film basically about 4, 5, 6 movies at one time. And he will take the footage and he will splice them all together to make more than 6 movies. So you will see reoccurring themes, or reoccurring scenes, I should say, not just themes, in movies, directly lifted out of one of his movies and he puts it in another. And basically it's a way to make money. Undefeatable, I've watched some of his other movies. So they're not great. I've watched ones like Ninja Catman in something Force.
Wait. We had a option in Ninja Catman and we went with Undefeatable.
Well, you would have really hated me if we watched a Catman movie. So one of the movies, the top one, 1993, as Alton Cheung, is Catman in Boxer's Blow, and he's just got a bunch. But Undefeatable is his. I haven't watched the one that came after it, Manhattan Chase, or that's supposed to be one of his other really good ones. I haven't watched that one, but Undefeatable is it's his life's work has been wrapped up in this movie. So that's I suggested this movie. This was one I wanted to watch with you, and I know you hadn't seen it before, but I have a storied past with just junk trash movies, and this is a movie. This is definitely a movie.
I like that when I Google Ninja Catman, it brings up Cartman from the anime episode of South Park for some reason.
I wonder if it's Ninja Cat. It's definitely Catman. Something Catman.
There was a Ninja Cat woman that came up in autofill, which that is just more anime.
You should let me swallow my drink before you say stuff like that. So let me give you a really quick breakdown of the story, and then we can just totally get into talking about the movie itself. So
let's do it.
Cynthia Rothrock is the star of this movie. And if you don't know Cynthia Rothrock, she's a martial arts actress. She's also an actual martial artist. But Cynthia Rothrock's character, Kristi, is in a gang, but she's also involved in these back alley street fights to help pay her sister Karen's way through medical school. Paul / Stingray, he is a former mechanic turned deathmatch fighter who, after clearly too many blows to the head, becomes so violent that he rapes his own wife when she kind of objects to him, I guess, when she's cooking him a pan-fried steak, and she leaves him afterwards. He goes on this violent killing spree to try and find her, and he starts believing that any redhead in a floral dress is his wife. He's totally delusional, and he kidnaps and he rapes and he kills these redheads, any of them that he can get his hands on. He's basically become this like serial killer. And Karen, Kristi, aka Cynthia Rothrock's sister, is unfortunately a redhead. So is Cynthia Rothrock in this movie. So you can obviously imagine what happens next. And Kristi gets caught participating in a street fight by a police detective named John Miller. And together, over time, John Miller and Kristi, aka Cynthia Rothrock, decide that they're gonna work together to try and find Kristi's sister's Karen, like how she's missing. So they're gonna try and find her, and that leads them to Stingray. That's the setup.
So where do we start with this?
This movie.
Let's start where the movie starts, because this movie starts with a weird street fight, which is apparently choreographed by Janet Jackson right after the Rhythm Nation video came out.
Oh, the outfits?
Yes. Maybe not choreographed, but definitely like dressed by, or, costumed by Janet Jackson. Yeah. I started laughing because there's literally two characters that have the naughty girl and the naughty boy hat from that music. I'm like, did people actually wear those outside of that music video? Because I was alive at this time, and granted, I was young and not in ninja gang fights, but I don't remember seeing anyone dressing like Janet Jackson to that extent. I remember that show with Madonna, but not with Janet Jackson.
I think I don't remember people wearing the hats, but I do remember seeing them at like the mall or available,
I'm sure they're probably at, well, maybe not malls. I bet you could probably find them online now fairly easily. But
1993, wouldn't that have been like way past that Janet Jackson phase anyways?
I don't know. I'm not that up on my Janet Jackson history other than seeing that hat and recognizing it from said music video. So these fight scenes, at least, this is an interesting movie as far as how because this movie is really just a excuse to go from one fight scene to another for the most part, with an occasional like rape or eye gouging going on in it. But for the most part, this movie is just one fight scene to the next. Like, there is a story there, but who cares? For the most part, it's kind of weird. Like, there's some points where the movie kind of throttles up and feels like it's an R-rated fight scene. Maybe this is just me, but I felt like this had a real, like, made-for-TV movie feel in the fight scene, or almost like a, take out the turtles, obviously, but like what was it, what year was the original Ninja Turtles? Was that 93 or 94?
Oh, I would think it was like 89.
Was it 89? Well, it almost has like that original Ninja Turtles feel, where the way the choreography and the way the fighting moves, it's like they fight, but kinda.
They fight so like mechanical and wooden, and I think that's just like, if you've seen Cynthia Rothrock's movies, that's kind of how her movies are. They're really like, they're almost like technical to a fault. Like, they don't want to do something that's not like a technical thing. Yeah,
I watched a short interview with her, and she was talking about how her fights go, and it was more of a choreography thing than an actual fight in these movies, which makes sense. But I don't know, there's moments where, well, I shouldn't say that. There's no moment where the fights in this feel like they're an actual fight. They all feel like early 90s movie fights, like from start to finish. Like, there's no point where you think like, man, these guys are really beating the crap out of each other. They're not. But it does give it an interesting look to this film, and it does kind of date it for better or worse. I don't know. It's kind of funny. They also reuse the same sound effects through the entire fucking movie. There's, I think, a total of 4 different punch sounds that just get reused literally every 4 seconds.
They've just got a drum machine with like the punches programmed into it, so they can just hit the pads.
Pretty much.
Until near the end, you don't see Cynthia Rothrock in anything but like mom jeans. She's wearing those, like, I don't know, they're not flattering, but I think they're to hide, because she has pads. You can visibly see some like knee pads in some of the scenes and stuff like that. The villain of the movie, Paul, aka Stingray, and I'm just going to call him Stingray for the rest of the movie, is played by an actor, Don Niam, and I don't know if a lot of these actors, so the acting itself is not great, and it's like Cynthia Rothrock is like Meryl Streep compared to almost everybody in this movie, and I think all the other people in the movie are stuntmen.
I actually found myself liking Cynthia Rothrock quite a bit by the end of the movie, for better or worse.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure why, but I was like, yeah, she's fine. I kind of like her. Stingray, I was like, why is he constantly tweaking? Like, he can't sit still at any point in this movie. And he's got a couple moments where he's holding a gun, or he's holding a knife or a sword, or, whatever, gouging eyes out. Is he just gouging eyes out because he gets close to your eyes and he can't stop shaking, and then, it's just collateral damage? Every time they show a close-up of this dude, his eyes are like bugged out of his head, and he's just like tweaked out shaking. Like he's had 15 espressos, 4 bumps of Coke, and some speed to go with it. Like, I'm amazed his heart didn't explode doing this movie.
He has a glorious mullet.
He does have that too. That's
He
also
looks
true.
like, if you picture this, picture Seinfeld, like 1992, and Elaine Bennis's hairstyle, but put it on a guy. And that's basically Stingray's hair. And his transformation from Paul, the husband of Anna, to Stingray is basically just him spray painting or using that like red, or that like punk hairspray stuff. That
I think it was
use.
actual spray paint.
On 2 red stripes on his head. You don't see him like on his hair. You don't see it for the rest of the movie, but that's like the line of demarcation where he turns from this Paul, this psychopath, to Stingray, this like extreme psychopath. He just the switch flips and he just goes on like I mentioned, this movie's full of redheaded women and every one has like a floral dress or something, and he'll just walk up to some lady and she'll be with a guy and he'll be like, Anna, what are you doing? Why are you running away from me? And then they just get in a fight.
We should mention, if you want a good drinking game for this movie and you might want to die, take a drink every time that Stingray says Anna, because that's probably about 85% of his dialogue.
If you do want to do a drinking game to this movie, it's available on Tubi and Freevee for free with ads. And you can run it on Amazon for 99 cents.
See? Well, all the better. So I don't really want to dwell on the rape scene just because it goes on for too long.
Super uncomfortable. It's like one of the most uncomfortable. I mean, not that I'm like a connoisseur of rape scenes or anything, but
sure.
It is just like the most. They focus on his face, for better or for worse. So it's not necessarily graphic in that they show a lot, but you can just hear his wife's crying, and it's like, oh my God, man, this is. I mean, not that it's ever.
It's one of those things that there's several scenes in this movie that go on for like way too fucking long, but it's one of the scenes that it's especially you're like, all right, we know what's happening here. Do you really need to dwell on this? But the reason why I'm bringing it up is, how come when she leaves him, she still makes him dinner again? Like, he gets another half-cooked steak and like
a salad.
Is it a salad?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like a bowl of broccoli and chicken or something like that. But whatever it is, like, okay, so you're leaving him because of all the abuse and all the emotional shit, because he hurts you and all this, and good, as you probably absolutely should. Why did you make him dinner?
Yeah, a nice healthy dinner too, like a salad.
Right.
There's a couple cherry tomatoes on there, making sure he gets all his.
Yeah, the dinner looked perfectly fine. Well, I'm assuming that steak was probably pretty fucked up if the last steak was to be, any
burnt
indicator.
On one side, raw on the other. Just how I like it.
When you started eating that, I was like, really? Like that? You couldn't flip it over for like 2 seconds, put some
Get
kind of sear on it? Like, nothing?
Paul is this, so Stingray / Paul is this underground deathmatch fighter. Near the beginning of the movie, they show his fight against the guy that he fought, and his promoter or whatever, his manager, gives him, he's like, here's $20,000 for your fight, whatever. And he sets him up for this next fight, and he's like, it's a big bucks, it's $100,000. Do like UFC fighters even make $20,000 in fights these days? It seems like the low level guys get nothing.
I don't think you do unless you're like on the main card, and even then, I don't know that unless you're main event or like co-main event that you're making $20,000.
You're making your money in brain damage. That's your payment.
That's a conversation that I don't want to have, is how UFC fighters get paid, because it might make me like get mad at a sport that I like, and I'm already doing that enough with other sports. So let's not go into that. But yeah, it is a weird, like, his underground like murder boxing or whatever the hell he's doing. It is a bizarre fight that they like kind of clip in, because they show this guy like on the ropes and he's just like, spitting and hemorrhaging blood everywhere, but he's almost making like googly faces at the camera at the same time while he's doing that. It's kind of a weird little scene.
He's definitely hamming it up, but Stingray has to make all this money because he's got to keep that mullet in peak condition. And there's a scene after his wife leaves him when he walks in the house after he gets his money, and he has like this red box or red bag or something full of, it just says Trojans on them, like really small. If you they don't show it close up or anything. It's like, geez, dude, you got like a gross of condoms here. You're just walking in the house with, where's dinner, Anna?
This is kind of right around the same time, like if we're going in the timeline of the movie, which we usually don't do. We mentioned in the interview about In Search of Darkness and Maniac Cop, we talked about a stuntman that almost died. How'd you like the stuntman that gets thrown off the parking garage into the pickup truck or whatever?
Behind the scenes, that was a second take.
It looks it, because he looks like he feels like shit when he's on the ground.
I read an interview with the guy who plays John Miller, the detective guy. What is his name? Doesn't really matter because he's not really been in anything since this movie. But John Miller. Oh, I'm sorry. Nick DeMarco is the character. It's so forgettable. The actor's name is John Miller. But he said that basically there's two cuts of this movie. One cut is the English version, and there's like a Cantonese version that has English subtitles where they add extra scenes with more Asian actors because...
Isn't that one only like 60 minutes long, though?
It might be. I don't know the runtime, but they switch out scenes with these Asian actors, and Godfrey Ho basically told the crew, listen, there's no stars in this movie. It's not going to make any money in Asia, so we're going to put these Asian people in it. But John Miller says that the first take, they had an Explorer or something, a Ford Explorer, or whatever the car is. That was just a crew member's car, and they did the first take, and the guy flipped over the wall or whatever and landed pretty good. And he was like, I thought they're going to have to call an ambulance, like take him to the hospital. And after a few minutes, the guy just rolls over, and Godfrey Ho, they're like, oh, is it okay? And Godfrey Ho, the director's like, no, let's run it one more time. So the guy has to do it again, and just totally blows out the car. And it was, like I said, it was like a crew member's car.
If you haven't seen this movie, what happens is Stingray is assaulting a random karate expert that happens to be at like this mall parking lot or wherever they are. And this is one of those movies where everyone in the movie, no matter what, like they're fighting and they're like black belt karate of some sort. Like even 4-year-olds are out there like doing ninja shit on their front lawn and on the weekends.
This is like a precursor to Cobra Kai. To the Cobra Kai universe.
Pretty much. Yeah, very, very much so. But so Stingray goes up to this random redheaded woman and it's just like, Anna, what are you doing with this dude? And she's like, I'm not your wife. And, they start wrestling and karate fighting and shit. Stingray pokes out his eyes. You can actually see him throw his eyes. Like when he takes his fingers out of his eyes, you see the eyes bounce off the ground, which is kind of entertaining. And they're in a parking garage. He hurls this guy over the ledge of the second story of the parking garage. And the way he falls, it's not a solid drop onto the car. It's like his back hits where the door and the roof meet. So it's going to like essentially snap his back. And then he just rolls onto the ground in like a very painful looking, unceremonious thud. And it's one of those stunts that you look at and you're like, man, that guy is not going to be doing well after this movie, like for quite a while.
Yeah, like you said, there's just so many ridiculous scenarios that this movie goes into. And it's, like you said earlier, it's just like a vessel to carry you to the next like action scene, to the next fight, because the whole movie's like premised around these back alley fights for money and death matches and whatever. You only get one death match. Cynthia Rothrock's in a few of these other movies, but I'm always surprised at this era of film when the movie's crap. Like it's a trash movie. Nobody's going to say this is like Citizen Kane or something like that, but it is so competently filmed. Like it looks good. The gore, whatever, I mean, the eyeball poking and all that stuff looks kind of crummy, but like from a technical standpoint, it's like, this is perfectly serviceable. This movie is like, it actually looks really good, even if the people on screen, for the most part, are just bozos that can barely act. Like I read something that said Cynthia Rothrock mentioned in an interview that the actors were so bad they couldn't remember their lines. They had to put like the words, the script, like write the things out and put them on her forehead. So when she was facing them, they knew the lines. I mean, that's something
pretty funny. You say that about the gore, but I don't think the gore or the things that you see in this movie look any worse than what's a movie we didn't, than some of the gore that's in Renfield.
Winnie the Pooh?
Or Winnie the Pooh.
I mean, it's not horror movie gore standards, like
sure,
good one. But I mean, other than that, it's all technically really good.
I did like, I don't want to jump all the way to the end, but there is a practical effect in the end of the movie, which we'll come back around to, that I thought was pretty comical how it was done, just because you can see where all the wires are as they execute it. But no, I mean, you're right though. This movie does look good. The stunt work in it is questionably homicidal, but definitely well done. Like it looks good on film. Acting and storytelling, like the dialogue is fucking terrible in it, and it, like I said,
It's laughably bad.
yeah, and it sounds that's why I said it feels like a early 90s made for TV movie. Is the dialogue's bad, the aside from when it goes R-rated, the action sequences aren't anything spectacular. And yeah, it's just, how do we get these characters into this room and have them put on football pads and do kung fu for some reason?
It's almost like a Street Fighter, the movie, moving from Cynthia Rothrock, moving from ridiculously outfitted opponent to the next one.
I read that Cynthia Rothrock was the base for the character, what's her name? Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat. So I guess it is like a Street Fighter in that sense. So I have no idea how accurate that is, but YouTube said it, so it must be true, right?
It has to absolutely be true if it's on YouTube or...
That's right.
You Googled it.
I didn't Google it. I wouldn't have thought of that otherwise. So let's see. What else do we want to talk about on this? Do you have any points you want to bring up that I'm missing? I'm sure there's a ton before we get to how this movie ends.
No, I think that this movie, if you have heard of this movie before, more than likely it's because you've heard of the final fight scene, which... That's how I discovered the movie like 10 years ago. It's considered, or it went viral at some point for being like the most ridiculous fight scene in movie history. Supposedly that's like the viral thing it went for. And it's just bananas. Like it's basically a live action Dragon Ball Z fight. Like there are almost like powering up to go Super Saiyan level 2 in in this scene.
It's got all the kung fu stereotypes in it. It's got them all, like in a 3-minute scene, roughly. Like it starts with one dude has a knife, the other doesn't. They kick it away. Then they somehow, somewhere in the middle of this, they get extremely lubed up, but they take their shirts off for no apparent reason. They both have parachute pants on for some reason, and do a lot of kicking and punching. I found it really funny. This is one of the things I didn't like about that fight scene, because I don't think it's believable. They have a lot of moments where it looks like they literally will, like, character A will throw like 3 or 4 punches on character B and then stop and just kind of sit there with his fist up, and character B will just return the exact same amount of punches.
The same sequence.
It's almost like they're consciously like, okay, it's your turn to punch me now. Okay. And I mean, I guess that works from a movie standpoint, but watching it, I'm like, why would you stop punching him? Like, why wouldn't you just...
You've got the advantage.
Yeah, like, if you hit him 4 times in a row, hit him 4 more times and put his ass on... This guy's a serial killer. Like, fuck him up. Yeah.
And it all takes place in, like, the loading dock of a hospital. You remember,
Yes.
they were upstairs in a hospital, and they go downstairs, like, at the loading dock, and there's, like, a hook. There's, like, a nail sticking out of the wall. There's, like, little practical weapons they can... It's like, what? What hospital is this?
Yeah, I like I don't know if it was just a nail or I don't know, whatever the hell they like took it. So spoilers, if you haven't watched this movie, like Stingray gets fucked up in the end, because of course he does. When they slammed his head into the wall, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention or if I just didn't see it or if it was just movie magic. It was there all of a sudden. I was like, what the hell did they just shove his face into? Like you immediately put together what happened, because he's been taking people's eyes out. They're like, oh, okay.
An eye for an eye.
There's something on the wall,
so to speak.
Right. But did I miss whatever they jammed in his face, or does that just, again, movie magic where it's like, well, something was on that wall apparently?
It was like a nail head sticking out or something.
I do like that he took a second to kind of, you could see him physically push himself off the wall, and you heard a little like sploosh sound with it when he did it. So,
and there's like a split second when they're fighting right after that where his eyes open that you see, and it's like, oh, I guess it just miraculously healed itself. No worries.
But the climax to this is he gets put. So Stingray continues, exchanging blows with Jimmy Johnson or whatever the cop's name is.
Nick DeMarco.
Well, that's right. The actual actor's name
John
was
Miller.
Jimmy something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
John, whatever.
Screwed that up.
That's fine. So they're wrestling and they're fighting and stuff, and his other eye, his good eye, gets jammed into some sort of dry cleaning machine, I guess, with hangers that are on it.
Yeah, something that goes to the ceiling, like a 20-foot ceiling.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is because the cage that they kick the gun under is marked as a linen closet, which I was like, why do they need a padlock like on a linen closet that's got a chain link fence for a door? But I digress. So they jam this hanger or whatever in his eye, and then you can see the wires that are going around his groin to actually hold his body weight up as it lifts him up to the ceiling and starts, tooling him around this garage. And you get one not great one-liner, but I gotta say, Detective Skalowitz or whatever, his one-liner at the end of this movie is the worst fucking one-liner I've heard in any action movie ever. You're right.
It's like he doesn't know how to say it. He like puts emphasis on the wrong word or something. They could only do one take.
They both make him do eye puns. Like, okay, you fucked up his eyes. You get it. Kristi or whatever, she says, keep an eye out for you, Stingray, as he's like floating away. They should have just left it there because that was bad, but at least it was like, all right, whatever. And then he goes, yeah, see ya. Oh, fuck you.
That's what makes it great. That's what makes it great.
Yeah. It's great in that bad way, but it is, like I said, I can't think of a worse one-liner than this one-liner that's at the end of this fucking movie. And if I'm wrong, whether it's in the comments of this show, there's only a couple people on this live. If I'm wrong, if you can think of a worse one-liner, please tell us one way or another at some point, because we'll talk about that movie too. Hot dog time?
Hot dog time.
Hot dog time. Lead us off this time.
So I've watched this movie at least 10 times. I still feel like I still feel like when I watch it, I find something in the background that I've never noticed before that I can laugh about. Just some ridiculous thing that's going on. Some like the eagle guy, like with the apple, and he like squeezes the apple and it's clearly just all mushy and gross. It's not the best film ever, but it is probably the best film by Godfrey Ho. Like I said, he did the thing where he filmed, 6 movies at one time and would make 12 out of them. So as you can imagine, those aren't great films by any stretch of the imagination. This whole movie takes itself so seriously. Like, we've been riffing on it and kind of joking about stuff that happens in the movie, but it is deadpan drama. They don't play it up to the camera. They don't act like it's over the top, but it is definitely over the top. It's just silly for silly's sake. Cynthia Rothrock, again, isn't the greatest actor, but she looks like Meryl Streep compared to the rest of the cast. And like I said before, the cast is basically just all stuntmen. They're probably just taken off the line, like, hey guys, we'll give you a SAG card or whatever if you're in this film. I don't know if stuntmen have their own union or whatever, but I think that the film's worth watching for its final scene alone. I love Undefeatable. I've watched it more than I've watched Black Devil Doll from Hell, and I gotta give it 5.5 spray-painted mullets out of 6 hot dogs.
Oh, wow. We went off a 6 hot dog.
Switching it up.
All right. I don't love or hate this movie. I mean, this movie to me is kind of just right in the middle of what a movie like this is. Like, if you told me you were gonna like have me watch a 1990s movie with white people doing karate, this is kind of what I would expect. It doesn't necessarily blow anything out of the water one way or the other. It has some memorable scenes in it. But at the end of the day, it's really just a vehicle to go from one fight scene to another for about an hour and a half until someone pokes an eye out, which is kind of okay. It's fun. It feels like the kind of movie that if you had like a 6-pack of beer and some like pizza or something, like, it'd be a good one just to kind of go have on. Like, if you had some buddies over for some, dumb shit marathon or something like that, this feels like that kind of thing. And it's kind of a nice change of pace for some of the stuff that we usually talk about too. So that's always a good thing. I can't say I'd see myself going back and watching this 10 times, but
you're missing out.
I wouldn't be surprised if I go back and watch it, 1 or 2 more times. I'd give it, 5 seared hot dogs on one side and raw on the other side out of 10 hot dogs. Kind of right in the middle.
I think you hit it on the head, though. This movie is one that's like, get your buddies together, watch it, laugh at it, drink, partake in some other substance at your disposal, and just, it plays itself so damn seriously that it's just hard to take it seriously, because it's just there's no like whimsy, there's no joking around. I don't even know if there's like a funny, like they say a line intentionally that's supposed to be funny. I don't know, like the Godfrey Ho or whoever wrote this was just like, God damn it, I'm gonna get respect from American audiences. And this is the movie that he puts out, and it's just like, this is so ridiculous. I don't know how you thought that people were going to take this seriously. That's why I like it so much.
I mean, I'm with you. Question of the week. So If you haven't answered the question of the week and you're in the chat, feel free to answer. The question of the week is pretty simple. And what is your favorite B martial arts movie? You'd be a little lenient with answers on this because when we thought about this question, I think my first question was, what the hell's a B martial arts movie? So do what you can do with it. But we have some replies. So from our friends over at Podcast in the Woods, recommended the movie Best of the Best, which Boomer said this was one of my favorites as a kid. Pretty good drama and one very exciting tournament. I haven't seen it, but I don't doubt it. Make sure to follow them.
Eric Roberts.
Yes. Make sure to follow Podcast in the Woods. They do great stuff and they have episodes coming out all the time. Cinema Poison at Cinema Poison said Ninja 3, The Domination, and it's not even close. Haven't seen this either. Apparently, I haven't seen the right.
John.
Dude, I watched a lot of like non-American ninja movies, so maybe that's where my problem is because I'm just like
Shokazugi, man.
Cultured.
Enter the Ninja, Revenge of the Ninja, Ninja 3, The Domination.
Yeah, well, that's...
We got to get watching that.
Sounds like we're going to have a whole ninja movie month.
We will.
Our friends over at the Gray's Taproom Podcast, you can follow them at Gray's Taproom Pod, said Surf Ninjas. I remember this when it came out, but I don't remember much of it. I just remember it being very... What's the word I'm looking for? Not schlocky, but kind of cheesy. And I don't. It's a very time capsule, much like this. It's a time capsule of the 90s. So, and then last we have at 1057 just said American Ninja, and there is some dudes in yellow jumpsuits jumping around back and forth. I don't know this one either.
You don't know American Ninja, Michael Dudikoff?
No, I don't know. I don't know shit about shit. Apparently.
Oh my God, we're gonna have Ninja November. I think This aggression cannot stand. You have to watch the Shokazugi American Ninja movie, American Ninja. That's Shokazugi's not American Ninja, but the Ninja series.
Oh shit.
Those are two great selections. I gotta agree, big time.
My answer for this is not very good because I apparently don't have enough of a backstory on this, and a lot of the stuff I watch that's in the like martial arts category would be like more from like the 50s and 60s, like the Shaw Brothers type stuff. And I don't really think that fits this kind of vibe. So I just went with Hard Target. It's got kind of a lot of like, it's got Jean-Claude hamming it up. It's got him punching a snake. It's got Brimley blowing shit up. It works for me. I don't think it's the best movie, but I would say it's kind of borderline this type of movie. And apparently I haven't seen enough of these movies to really have an opinion otherwise. Well, next time we ask this question, I'll have a better answer. Maybe. No,
come on, don't do me like that. That's fine. If you haven't seen those movies, that's fine. I mean, but I'm just saying, I know a guy. He can hook you up with a lot of really shitty, hilarious.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Ninja movies.
I'm aware.
But the Shaw Brothers stuff, I mean, it's not. I think it's made seriously, but it's not serious. I mean, those things are they're like legends, right? They kind of a lot of Wu-Tang stuff. It seems like.
Well, yeah, but there's also like a culture barrier there, and I don't know. Like, I'm not a Japanese or Chinese. I don't know that culture. I don't know what is and isn't serious there, and where you're seeing it all through a second language and you're reading everything in captions, like it comes off a certain way, but I don't know if that's how it's perceived from that lens. So I don't want to call it like
like if the original intent was supposed to be.
Yeah. Or for that matter, if it came off that way in the 50s or the 60s when that came out, like you look at it now and say like, okay, yeah, The One-Armed Swordsman is a goofy movie. It's a dude with one arm running around like hacking shit up. Sure. But if you look at it, 70 years ago, might not have looked that way. So I don't.
It's a goofy movie about a guy with one arm hacking shit up.
Yeah. Well, maybe.
I don't know.
What's your answer for this one?
I was going to go with Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon because that movie's. Have you seen that one?
I think so. That's the
Bruce Leroy.
Yeah. It's been a while, but yes, I've seen that one.
The Glow. I was going to go with that, but who mentioned Ninja 3?
Cinema Poison at Cinema Poison.
I got Cinema Poison swayed me because, like I said, I was going to say Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon, but now remembering Ninja 3 is that's the cream of the crop. Like that is, the girl from Breakin' and Breakin' 2. Have you ever seen this? She's the main
poster with it. It looks like a Ninja Gaiden cover or something like that.
She's like the main character, and she gets the spirit of an evil ninja possesses her, and so she turns into the evil ninja. And I believe Shokazugi is the good ninja. And if you aren't familiar with who I think Sho Kazugi. Did you ever see Ninja Assassin? It was like from 2006,
I think
7.
so.
It was like a big budget.
It's kind of the hard thing with all these movies too, is like when you put ninja as like half the title for all these movies, it's hard to pick them apart. I feel like I have.
Well,
but
reading through Godfrey Ho's credits, and there's 500 zillion
ninja whatever.
Yeah, ninja things that he did. Let me see. The last movie that Sho Kazugi...
He's probably got a movie called Ninja whatever. So
Sho Kazugi's last movie was Ninja Assassin. So, but he was like 9 Deaths of the Ninja. You probably have seen the cover for that. He was like for me, he was like the original I'm a ninja. Like, and you could believe that he was a ninja. I don't know. He was just in all those, in Revenge of the Ninja, the original, whatever, the Enter the Ninja, all that stuff. So yeah, but we'll have to do a Ninja November or something, because there's just too much. The American Ninja series too. That's a great callback. That would be, I think American Ninja 2 might be maybe my favorite of the series. But I mean, even like Gymkata is pretty fucking ridiculous.
I mean, I'm all for it if we can kind of splice in some of the like actual Asian stuff too with it.
Well, you'll have to suggest those.
That's fine. We can do whatever.
I got too many ninja movies in my
watch.
head that we need to watch and talk about.
It's not like we're going anywhere. We can continue to talk about weird, random fucking movies. That's kind of what we do around here.
That's kind of our shtick.
That's our shtick. You got anything you want to add before we start wrapping on this?
No, if you're out there and you want to watch Undefeatable, like I said, it is free on Tubi. It is free on Freevee, and those are both ad supported. You can rent it for 99 whopping cents on Amazon Prime. So go out there and do it, because Undefeatable is definitely a movie that needs to be experienced.
Yes, but do it on Tubi, because I like Tubi more than Amazon. I'd rather have them get the ad revenue than Amazon get 99 more cents.
And they're giving us a kickback. So
yeah, clearly or maybe someday.
No, they are, for sure.
All right. I think that's all we got for this week. So we're going to wrap up here. In the future, or if you want to, we would appreciate if you give us a follow. We are at Dewey Pod Monster on pretty much everything. So we're on X, Instagram, Threads, Slasher app, Mastodon. Good luck finding anyone on there, including us, but we're on there. TikTok, several other things. So absolutely give us a follow there. That's where I post the question of the week. That's where you can respond to it, and you will get your answers read on this Winnebago of a podcast. Sean, what do you got going on? What do you want to add to that?
Well, I was just going to say, if you want your question of the week answered on the show, like John said, visit on whatever platform he posts the question. I spaced out, so I didn't hear what he was saying, but you can go to that platform and answer it. Also, we're still waiting on feedback. John and I would love to do some movie watches with the audience. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, let us know. You can find us at crap.town. I don't know if John mentioned that. I'm sure he probably did again, because I was spacing. But if you're interested in Michigan beer content and all the stuff about Michigan beer, you can find me at youtube.drafttherapy.com. You can also follow me on all the social media networks at Draft Therapy. I actually posted something this week. You could have read it if you were following me.
Yeah. I posted some hot dogs today, so go check that out. That's it. That's all we got. So we'll be back next week with whatever the next thing is that we're talking about. So, hey, yeah, let us know what you want us to talk about if before we get out of here. If you do want us to talk about a movie, I don't care what the genre is or whatever. Want us to talk about a horror movie, want us to talk about an action movie, a ninja movie, a porn movie, whatever. Let us know.
A weird movie. Send us a message on any social media, whatever. Just let us know. We do take requests, so please send them on over. That's it. We're done now.
Bye-bye.